I'm Mike Schneider, and I'm the lead instructor for Climbing Self-Rescue. I want to share a little bit about myself and also get to share with you like a climbing self-rescue story that I experienced that maybe you could learn from and help illustrate why this class is so important. So I've been climbing since 1997. I grew up in Iowa, but I've been living here in Glenwood Springs since 2000. I teach part-time at Glenwood Springs High School. As many of you might know, been involved in outdoor education since 2000, starting a couple of outdoor ed programs here locally for high schools. And then I've been teaching at CMC Spring Valley since 2011. At CMC, I teach all of the climbing courses, all the rock climbing courses, all the ice climbing, the technical canyoneering. I teach wilderness medicine, like wilderness first aid and wilderness first responder. And I also sometimes help out with some of the orientation courses. I also own Glenwood Climbing Guides. I'm a certified rock guide, do a lot of alpine guiding, mountain guiding, do a lot of things all related to teaching climbing, guiding, and taking people out. So that's a little bit about me. And over the course of these videos, as we get into the course, through the course, you'll probably also see me wear some different hats, like literally and figuratively. Might even have my kids here, like in the garage, or if we're outside, like demonstrating something. So you'll probably hear me talk about my kids. I think I've had all of you in class before, and so hence you've probably already heard about my kids a lot. But that's a little bit about who I am. One of the things we wanted to have you do in your introduction, which you don't have to videotape, just to share with us on a discussion on Canvas, is to share with us like who you are and what your climbing experience is like, what you want to get out of this course. I know I'm excited to get all of you just more advanced with your climbing skills. That's always something I'm really passionate about. And then we want you to share a self-rescue story, some experience you had where something went wrong, and maybe you rescued yourself, or maybe it wasn't even a rescue, but something just went awry and you wish you would have had some other skills. And so I'll share a story with you. Many years ago, I was climbing at Devil's Tower. This has long been one of my favorite places to climb. It's up in northeast Wyoming. It's a volcanic plug. Close Encounters of the Third Kind is the movie that, in a way, made this really famous in the popular, the mainstream population, I think. But anyway, I was only climbing for a couple of years when I had gone there with some friends, and I'd climbed Devil's Tower several times already at this point. But one day we were up there climbing, and it was getting late in the day, and we decided to go down a different descent than what we were used to doing. We typically were climbing one section of the tower most commonly, and so we would usually go down one descent. Well, this time we decided to go down a different descent because of the route we were climbing. And granted, like I said, I've only been climbing a few years, so still very naive in many ways and just not as experienced. And I was rappelling down, and I passed a rappel anchor, and I, in hindsight, should have stopped at that bolted rappel anchor, but I felt like I hadn't gone very far, so I was like, oh, I got plenty of rope left, I'll keep going. We had 2 ropes tied together, so we were doing like a 200-foot rappel. And after I passed that bolted anchor, I went over an overhang, like a roof, and suddenly I found myself with just maybe 5 to 10 feet of rope left. And of course, we'll learn about this, but I didn't have knots in the end, and I should have. So I pretty quickly was like, whoa, now I'm hanging in space, and I could rappel off the end of my rope here. And so I like swung into the wall, was able to place some gear, so at least I had some gear on my harness with me, and I was able to like make an anchor and get clipped into that anchor. And then I had my friends, I was able to yell up to them, and it was really difficult, and basically to tell them stop at that bolted anchor and then come down to that, and then I'll be waiting for you down here. And what I wish I would have done are a lot of things. Like I didn't have my rappel extended, I didn't have a backup on, I didn't have knots in the end. Those are all things I just didn't know at the time. I really hadn't had very thorough education about climbing. I was really, when I think back on it, like I was really ahead of what I probably should have been, but I'll just blame it on being in Iowa and not having very good mentors and not having good education. Like I think you're getting an awesome education here in this class. But a big thing that, those are all things that we'll teach in Climbing Self-Rescue, some of which you might already know. But another thing too is like, I wish I could have just ascended back up the rope. And that's something I had no idea about at the time. That's something that we teach in this class, how to ascend back up a rope. So now when I think back on that situation, I would have just ascended back up the rope, to get over that overhang, back up on the rock where I could get my feet on the rock, back up to that bolt and anchor, and then I wouldn't have been perched there. As that night went, we all made it down fine then, but I remember we finished really late, dark, didn't have headlamps, like it was just like turned into kind of a epic, right? And I'm glad I lived through it, but that's part of the big goal here for Climbing Self-Rescue, is to teach you some things so that you can deal with it if you get into a situation where you need it.